You are pumped because you found a promotional offer that Toyota is running for the next 2 months on a lease of the new Toyota Tundra and you don't want to miss it. Only $3,000 due at signing for $492 a month. That's it. But wait, there's more. $500 military discount and $500 college graduate discount, and you qualify for both. But you end up missing the deal because you could not make up your mind between financing and leasing. I would recommend paying cash on a used car. But you're not going to listen to me, right? So let's look at the other two options. Should you finance your car or should you lease it? Right off the bat, let's look at the numbers first and we'll discuss the rest later. We'll assume the purchase price of $35,000 with a 6% sales tax. In the term section, we'll assume a 24-term lease. And for financing, I will put 60 months, which is the most common term when financing a car. I will keep the APR same for both. Here's the fun part, and I know it's a lot of numbers, but the most important number is the average cost per year. For leasing, the average cost per year is about $9,400, whereas the average cost per year for the same finance vehicle is about $6,000. If I change the lease term to 36 months, the average cost per year for the leased vehicle would be approximately $8,200. So the longer the lease term, the less it will cost you. Usually, 24 months and 36 months are the two terms most commonly offered. It is difficult to do a head-to-head comparison between a 2-year lease and a 5-year financed car because the lease will end in 2 years, whereas the person financing the car would be making payments for 3 more years. The person leasing has to either look for a new vehicle or they have to look at a buyout option of the lease. So making an apples-to-apples comparison between the two is almost impossible. Now let's talk about the interest rate. When you finance a car, you pay for the money you borrow, which is called interest rate, of course, right? But did you know that when you lease a car, you also pay interest? This interest is hidden in all the paperwork, and the term used to define this interest is called the money factor. The money factor is displayed slightly differently. It could be displayed as 0.001, 0.002, and so on. To convert this money factor into interest rate, you simply multiply the money factor by 2400. So let's say the money factor on your lease is 0.005. You simply multiply 0.005 by 2400 and you get 12%. This is the interest you're paying on your lease. I know, you're probably thinking, why don't they just use the term interest rate on the lease agreement? I don't know. Maybe it's to hide it from you. I've seen some people pay ridiculous amounts on their interest when it comes to leasing because this number is not as visible. So this is something to watch out for very closely. Insurance rates are also higher for a leased vehicle, and almost all lease contracts make you purchase the gap insurance. Gap insurance helps you pay for the gap between the depreciated value of your car and what you still owe on the car if your car is stolen or declared a total loss. This coverage is often already included in your lease monthly payment, so it is crucial that you read the paperwork to see how much you're paying for this coverage. When you finance a car, you don't pay for gap insurance, although it could still be a good idea. But with a lease contract, in almost all cases, the dealership will make sure that you have gap insurance, either through them or an outside provider. In a nutshell, with leasing, you get lower monthly payments and you get a new car every couple of years. You will always have warranty and the maintenance cost is almost negligible. And trading a leased vehicle is also very easy. But you don't own the vehicle and you would need a new car after your lease is up. You will always have a car payment. There's mileage limit and you have to return the vehicle in good condition. With financing, you will eventually own the vehicle, you can drive it as much as you like without any restrictions, and you won't have to make payments when the car is paid off. Imagine what you could do with an extra $500 a month. The drawback with financing is that your warranty will eventually expire, so maintenance will be your responsibility afterwards. Secondly, financing a car is more expensive in the short term as the monthly payments usually come out slightly more. That's the big picture, and as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, leasing is a more expensive option. But today's market makes leasing an even worse option, and here's why. Pre-pandemic, leasing companies used to offer around $4,000 in sign-up bonuses and other financial benefits. But this has dropped to just $1,500 in the recent months, and that's according to JD Power. It's not my opinion, it's a fact. Another thing that I notice is getting overlooked these days is the auto mileage limit on the lease. The lease options used to have a standard mileage limit of 12,000 miles. This has dropped to 10,000 miles in the recent months, and it is quickly becoming the new norm. So what used to be a 3-year lease with 36,000 miles has dropped to just 30,000 miles before you're charged a penalty. It may not sound like a lot to you, but believe me, it is a big change considering the fact that these companies charge you an extra 30 cents for every extra mile that you drive. So if you end up driving an extra 5,000 miles by the time your lease expires, you would end up paying a penalty of $1,500. If we only consider the numbers and the math, purely the math, then leasing is a more expensive option. There's absolutely no doubt about that. You're also making payments on a vehicle when it is most rapidly depreciating in value. Dave Ramsey refers to leasing as fleecing, like fleecing a sheep. I wouldn't go that far, but you get the point. A brand new car every 2 years is a luxury. So leasing is a luxury, and even though it may seem like you're paying less money in the short run, a lease will always cost you more in the long run. But if you're debt-free and on track to meet all your financial goals, then why should you not pay for this luxury? If that is the case and you want to lease, then by all means go for it. But if you're like most Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck and are being crippled by debt, then I would recommend you to stay away from a car lease.